Welcome, everyone, to Lakers Roundtable. I'm Mark Medina with the Los Angeles Times Lakers blog, and for this edition of Lakers Roundtable, we bring in Lakers great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And everyone knows his story. He's the NBA's all-time leading scorer, six-time NBA champion, 5 of those with the Lakers, and he's the master of the Skyhook. But this week, Abdul-Jabbar has also accomplished something else that's noteworthy. Abdul-Jabbar has also been named by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to be a global cultural ambassador, and he's here to talk about that role with us right now. Kareem, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
So what was your reaction when you were told you'd be doing this?
It was a pleasant surprise. I didn't really know for sure if that was going to come about. Some people that I know, Wayne and Catherine Reynolds, mentioned my name, Mrs. Clinton, or some of her people, I believe. And it seems that they thought it was a good idea.
Now, Kareem, my understanding with this position, you're going to be promoting and discussing issues involving education, social and racial tolerance, and talking about sports as far as how it can be a means of empowerment. And you're scheduled to travel to Brazil from January 22nd to the 28th in places such as Salvador and Rio de Janeiro. What's your role entail in discussing these issues over there?
Just basically what you mentioned. They're going to have it so that, like I'll do a couple of basketball clinics, and I'll also be involved in discussions with, groups of young people. The Brazilian government is trying to rearrange its educational system so that it reaches more of the population. They think that their population is underserved by the educational system and it needs a total revamping. And the U.S. government is going to try and help them with this. And so I'll be talking to young people about the need for education and, trying to explain to them how important it is, given, what it has done for my life, and just to more or less explain to them what life here in America is all about. Everybody has ideas about what America is, and it will be good to have someone like myself to explain it on a one-to-one level, in real terms, in terms that they can understand, hopefully.
Yeah, and you outlined kind of the framework of that message. What do you plan on emphasizing to them in terms of that importance of education and your own story?
Well, it'll be based mainly on what their questions are, what their curiosity is about. And then, overall, I just, for me to give them an idea of why education is so important, especially, if I'm dealing with athletes, athletes all over the world, they think that if they can do whatever it is that they do as an athlete, that's going to take them through life. And, having an athletic career is a wonderful thing, but it doesn't last your whole life. And unless you have a good educational foundation, you'll come up short and end up being one of those sad and sorry tales. So in order to help them eliminate that possibility, they need to crack the books open and have an idea of what to do beyond their athletic career. And education is a key in that effort.
Now, you had said that you remembered as a child seeing Louis Armstrong being promoted to be in an ambassador position under President Kennedy. What was it about Armstrong that you admired growing up?
Well, I'm a big jazz fan. My dad was a jazz musician. So, in my household, Louis Armstrong was a hero. And just the stances that he took for civil rights, at a time when it actually hurt his popularity. He didn't care. He was a strong advocate for civil rights at the time, when that was controversial. So, he was a real hero to me. And, when, Governor Faubus in Arkansas was resisting the integration of schools in Arkansas, and President Eisenhower kind of dragged his feet in terms of enforcing that. And Louis Armstrong called him out on it and lost a lot of, like, concert dates. People started to shun him, because he was speaking out on civil rights, and they felt that wasn't his place. Go ahead.
Are there any other particular figures growing up that you admired, for their involvement with civil rights and various issues with that?
Oh, yeah, there were lots of them. But I mentioned Louis Armstrong because he went through that period, and then when Kennedy got into office, Kennedy used him as a cultural ambassador, and, it turned the whole thing around. And, because President Kennedy felt that, civil rights was a righteous cause. So, it was a very special moment, for those reasons. And for me, to see someone that I admire go through a hard period of time, and then, President Kennedy validated him and, made him a cultural ambassador. So for me, it's nice to be following in his footsteps, as a cultural ambassador.
We're speaking with former Lakers center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and you can follow him on Twitter at KAJ33. And Kareem, can you take me back to the beginning of your childhood and explain what was it about history and social issues that sparked your interest?
Well, I guess it started with the neighborhood that I grew up in Manhattan, in New York City. It was a Revolutionary War battlefield. The last part of Manhattan that the Continental Army held before they had to skedaddle. So, there was a battle for Washington Heights, which, George Washington had to escape across the Hudson River. But as a kid, we would find, musket balls and old bottles and stuff in vacant lots and in the parks. Sometimes after it rained, in that arrowheads and stuff in that part of Manhattan. So I was always aware of the fact that, people had preceded us. There's a Dutch farmhouse at Broadway and 203rd Street that was built by a Dutch family, the Dyckman family. And it's still there. It's part of, one of the historical sites in New York City. So, I used to see this as a kid, and, history was something special to me.
And I understand you've said this quote many times, we have to stop teaching history and start letting history teach us. In what respects?
What was what? Well, the saying is that people don't learn from history or are condemned to repeat it. And, oftentimes it's not to any good end. A lot of lessons that we can learn from history seem to go by us at times, and, we repeat mistakes. So that's basically what that's about.
Are there any particular lessons that stand out to you that seem to be repeat mistakes when you look at our history?
The failure to address grievances, people with legitimate grievances. Look how long it took for women to get the vote, for Black Americans to obtain real citizenship. After the Civil War was over, theoretically, Black Americans were citizens, but the people in the former Confederacy were able to deny them the rights and privileges of citizenship for a long time. And it took a long time before that changed. Only recently, in the past 20 or 30 years has it been possible for Black Americans to gain a foothold in the mainstream of society. It took a while, and what I just mentioned about women, Native Americans. So we got work to do here. Our country isn't perfect, but the great thing about America is that we have the ability to recognize this and change things for the better. And that's why America is the great place that it is.
Kareem, I wanted to highlight some of your several efforts that you've done recently. And first, I want to start with your documentary on the shoulders of giants. And I know I was able to see it, and it was very well done, focusing on the Harlem Wrens, which was the first all-black basketball team. What significance did that team have in terms of helping spur that racial integration and better race relations later on?
Well, I think for basketball, the Wrens did exactly the same thing that Jackie Robinson did for baseball. And, the NBA started in 1947. It was segregated. But because the Wrens had been so good for so long and had great players that everybody knew about, and they'd been able to win the professional championship starting in 1939, the whole country knew that not all of the best athletes were in the NBA. And, 3 years into its existence in 1950, the NBA finally integrated. And, the Wrens played a role in that because everybody knew how great they were. And, if they hadn't had the patience and perseverance that they had, it would have taken a longer time.
And so you also have a book that just came out, What Color Is My World? The Lost History of African American Inventors, and that was released earlier this month. For those who haven't been able to see it, what's the book about?
The book is about black inventors, and it's for kids. It's targeted for kids 8 to 12 years old. And for me, my motivation in writing it had to do with just my memories of the school books that I had, when I was going to school growing up. Black Americans were only mentioned with regard to the issues of slavery and civil rights. And there was so much more to that story. So by focusing on black inventors, you can see where black Americans have contributed so much to world culture in so many of the inventions that they made. For example, the filament for the light bulb, which made it a practical invention, was invented by Latimer, who was someone who was employed by Thomas Edison. Everybody gave Edison the credit for it, but actually it was Latimer's invention that made the light bulb something that people could use every day.
Oh, wow. What was his role in helping that come along?
To have electric light, people had to use they used an arc light. It was very expensive, but it wasn't practical to have an arc light in your house. It was something that could only be used industrially. Like for people, let's say they were drilling a mine and they needed to light underground, they could use an arc light, but it gave off sparks. It was smelly. It was an electric light, but it wasn't practical. Latimer invented the carbon filament, and you put it in a vacuum bulb, and there you had something that it was safe to use in a home, and it lasted a long time, and it made electric lighting practical. And after that, at that point, it was practical for cities to have electricity and use electric lighting. Up to that point, it really wasn't practical for everyday use. So Latimer was the one who he invented that. He did Alexander Graham Bell's patent drawings when he applied to patent the telephone. And for Edison, he did research to protect Edison's patents, and was a key person in helping Edison maintain his position on the many inventions that he held patents on. He's a very important person for Edison, and most people don't know anything about him. He started the Westinghouse Corporation. Very brilliant man, and most people don't know about him. The first person to do open heart surgery was a black doctor. Guy invented potato chips. Was a black guy. A black doctor invented the golf tee. Let's see, the ice cream scoop was invented by a black American. And I could go on. I forget names and everything at times, but there's quite a list of them in the book. If you get a copy, you can check it out. Mark, Mr. West invented the electric microphone, which is what we use in cell phones. If it were not for that, we wouldn't be able to have cell phone technology be as useful as it is today.
And moving forward, I also wanted to touch base on your Skyhook Foundation. I was wondering what the spirit of that foundation is about.
Well, my hopes is that we can use sports as a means to get kids interested in education. The whole idea is to make education a key element in young people's lives. And when we get rolling with it, it will involve mentoring sports, using sports to get kids' attention, but to mentor them to pursue higher education and, pursue their dreams through education.
I've always been intrigued just by your overall story. I mean, you grew up, being named Ferdinand Luis Alcindor Jr., you're raised Roman Catholic, grew up in Harlem, you then changed your name, converted to Islam. I mean, obviously you have a very multicultural background. I was wondering if you could take me through how that's shaped your worldview.
Well, I think basically it started with my grandmother. My family's from the West Indies, and my grandmother would tell stories about home, Trinidad. That's where my family is from. And, she spoke French and Spanish and Creole in addition to English. And, just her worldview, the fact that she was from somewhere else and had very vivid stories to tell me about it, always kind of shaped my view of the world as being a very big place with a lot of various types of people in it. And I think that served me very well. She also was someone, she insisted that with her children, my dad, that they be educated and use their brain matter to better themselves. So I think just my heritage in that sense was a key for me in helping me understand that it's a big world, and the smarter you are, the more education that you can attain, the better off that you'll be.
What do you think can be done to have better relationships with Muslim countries?
I think President Obama has done a great job. Even, President Bush, a lot of people criticize him, but from the very first he said he was not in a war with Islam. He was dealing with terrorists who happened to be Muslim. But, he always took pains to point out that, the majority of the Muslims in the world were not hell-bent on destroying America. That it was a radical group of people and a minority within the Islamic countries. What we did, let's say, in President Obama's tactics in dealing with the Libyan thing enabled them to attain their goals and see us as people who were helpful and, sticking up for the rights of the common people in Libya who were confronting a tyrant. I think that, in that sense, we're on the right track, and I think we should maintain that. Too many people have kind of gotten into thinking that all Muslims are the bad guys, and that's not the reality of it.
Kareem, you also received the Lincoln Medal this past summer, from my understanding, for continuing Abraham Lincoln's legacy through commitment to education and equality. I know we talked a lot about several efforts that you've done, but has there been anything else instrumental, you think, in being able to receive that award?
I don't know. I think they gave me that award just for more or less what they saw me do, most of my life. That's been a consistent theme with me. I've always been an advocate for literacy and education, and understanding between different groups. So I think they just took a look at what I've done with my whole life and felt that that award was appropriate.
We're talking with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and before we let you go, I know Laker fans are always curious how you're doing. I know 2 years ago you had announced you had a rare but treatable form of leukemia, and I know you've made progress with that, but just so everyone's fully understanding of what you're going through, how's your overall health treating you right now?
My health is great. I'm doing what the doctors tell me to do. I got to go and get my blood checked regularly and take my meds, but if I do that and try to live a healthy lifestyle, the leukemia is not going to keep me from doing most of the things I've done my whole life. I'm still able to live my life to its fullest, and I'm very thankful for that. And every day is a blessing.
Well, good to hear, Kareem. It's great to hear that you're in good health, and congratulations on becoming one of our country's cultural ambassadors. And thanks for all your time and insight today and discussing it.
Oh, my pleasure. It's good talking to you.